One of the most beautiful things when you're living a life fully aligned with your purpose is that you are really the one in control of your life. You are the creator of your life. And with that comes this deep sense of inner joy and inner peace. Since you can finally accept who you are, not on the outside and not what other people want, but really on the inside and what your authentic self wants. When I first started creating videos a couple years back, for the first time, I finally felt like I found my way of expressing my passion to the world. Yet, there were still people out there who made fun of me in school, They called me nicknames like Lucky God, which was my channel name back then when I created football gaming videos. And they often gave me a smirk here and there. But then, on the other hand, you have this sense that you're part of a tribe, that you are the one leading and creating content for thousands of people out there. And that right there really drove me to continue building these passion projects. And then at one point, I began to question why my friends weren't doing the same things as well. Like, isn't it weird that you see your friend over there who's super talented with drawing, like whenever you sit next to them in class and they go off task and they draw all of these anime characters with sophisticated images with, like all these facial details. Like, I'm always amazed by these drawings. And then you point it out to them that they're drawing really well. But then they dismiss it, right? They dismiss it. And why do they dismiss it? One of the core reasons, if you think about it, is because they want to look humble. Because society have told us that whenever someone compliments you, you have to remain emotionless and think about the people who are better than you. Isn't that crazy? And don't you see how that is so flawed? Like, someone is giving you recognition for your natural talent, and instead of taking it all that in, you tell yourself to ignore it. So what you're basically doing is you're lying to yourself, because by dismissing it, you're subconsciously telling your mind that you're not good enough. I want you to really take a moment and think about that class where everyone is always silent and no one else does the talking except for the teacher. And I have personally one or two of these classes right now in my schedule as well. And maybe in those classes, you have like one or two classmates who's always the teacher's pet, right? They're always answering every question, and we call them nerds, and we are always annoyed about them. And if you exclude these people for a second, have you ever wondered why no one is willing to speak up and answer these questions? Like, really spend some time deeply thinking about that, right? And maybe the subject itself is boring, but then one of the big reasons is because people have this fear for voicing out the wrong answer. And again, this is accidentally programmed into us when we're super young. Because if you think back to kindergarten or primary school, do you remember the moment when your parents got mad and took away your candy or whatever when you did something wrong? Or maybe you witnessed one of your friends being embarrassed in front of the class for doing something like farting or for whatever reason they're shamed for. And over time, what happens is that you suppress who you are authentically on the inside, right? This inner child and the playfulness that you carry in order to fit in to everyone else around you and really not make mistakes and be the perfect model that society wants you to be. And now you're probably wondering, well, why, Bosco, are you bringing up this topic in a video about life purpose? Well, the reason why I bring this up is because I want you to see how these limits and constraints that you hold on to and accumulate as you grow up really limits you when it comes to visioning something bigger and something grander like life purpose. An analogy for this is like right now, you're constrained into this little box of knowing what entirely is possible with you, with your life purpose. But what we have to do is really liberate from that box, right? Really grow out of that box. And I myself was in this box when I first started out as well. And what we really need to do is to help you push the boundaries of that box so then you can think bigger on what is possible with your life, right? Beyond your traditional education or beyond your traditional belief systems. And really by thinking bigger, you'll be able to authentically align with yourself and really live this fulfilled life that you really want. So now I'm going to be running through a little visioning exercise so then we can start getting your mind turned on with some of the ideas on what this purposeful life may look like to you. And just on a side note, I will highly recommend you to keep some sort of notebook with you. Something like, a couple pages long or like pieces of paper. So that when I continue sharing all of these exercises with you, it will help you keep track of all of these answers and get a better picture on what an aligned life looks to you. And what you can do is treat this like a puzzle, right? What I'm actually doing is I'm giving you the different frameworks and different questions to ask. And what you're doing is over time, you're filling all of these puzzle pieces everywhere so that you can create this beautiful image at the end. All right, so now let's begin with the exercise. So I want you to get all nice and comfy and just close your eyes just for a couple of minutes as I prompt you with a couple questions. And I also want you to let your mind think as freely as possible when I ask you these questions. And it's important that you don't think that something sounds too optimistic when I ask you these questions. Like if some kind of crazy idea comes up, I want you to just recognize them and let it flow in your head. So now imagine you just graduated high school and you're heading off for a gap year. So if you're still in high school right now, just fast forward and imagine you're gifted a gap year for whatever reason. And maybe it's because someone offered you £1 million for doing this, or the university will give you a full scholarship if you take this gap year, or whatever it is. Just imagine you were gifted a gap year. And if you're someone who already started college, or if you're slightly older, just imagine you can go back in time and restart that period. And for a second, if we think about the definition of a gap year, it's a period of time that allows you to explore whatever you like. And for this exercise, I want you to imagine that you have no obstacles in the way, no obligations at all. And that means no lack of money, no lack of skills, no lack of love, or whatever else you think you're lacking, you're not lacking it. And imagine those aren't issues anymore. And keeping all of the experiences and wisdoms that you've accumulated up till this point in your life, you're sitting here with a blank slate, deliberately deciding how you're going to design your path from the ground up. So with this blank slate, I want you to ask, what are the top 3 things that you want to create or try out during your gap year, which would make you say when you're looking back, damn, I really discovered something new about myself. I was literally cooking every single day. For all 365 days of the gap year, I really crushed it. And really spend some time just visualizing it right now. Try and be as specific as possible, go into the nitty-gritty of the details. And just feel all of the emotions that arise with it. And all of the joys, all the potential challenges maybe. Let's take all of them into consideration. And maybe as you flip through different mental images for different things that you want to do, just start taking mental bullet points on all of these things that you have. Just begin jotting it down in your head for now. And it's important to be kind to yourself, so don't judge anything that comes up. Just keep a good storage of what appears. Alright, so now using some of these ideas that came up in your mind, let's push your imagination slightly further. So let's say now you have around 80 years left to live, and you're an architect trying to design this piece of art, this beautiful picture of your life. And you really want this thing to be something that you're proud of, something that will make you say on your deathbed, yup, that was a really well-lived life. I could be super proud of that life, and I got no regrets leaving this life behind, and I really feel like I ruled the world. And then I want you to ask the same question, but this time, which 10 things should your life be about? Which are the 10 things that your life should be focused on? And you could think back to the images that came up during your gap year. Are there some things that reoccurred to you? Or are there some things that went away? And most of the time, the things that goes away may be things that may not be your true values and may not make you feel fulfilled, but then it looks exciting in the first place. So these 10 things that comes up should be like the pillars on which your life stands on. So what would those things be? Continue keeping your eyes closed and just spend some time visualizing. And really take a second to deeply think about it. And I don't want to bias you with any ideas, but here are some of my pillars when I was going through this exercise. So one of the things that I pictured myself doing was journaling, writing, and documenting stories. So going through all of these adventures, right, and traveling to different places and making a blog or writing it all down, all of the different stories, all of the fascinations, all of the wisdoms that I had from that journey. Another one was writing a book about my life and seeking unique things, alternative ways of living. I also imagine myself going camping in a really beautiful location, right next to the riverside, with really a nice fireplace, and all listening to all of the waves come and go, and looking through the city line, and looking at all of these beautiful buildings. So you can be as specific as you can as well with these answers. Another thing that I pictured myself was playing more songs that I liked on the piano and making different remixes between these songs and really going all in and really delving into music in general and all of these storytelling aspects. Another aspect that I pictured myself was meditation, or meditating on a mountain. And some other examples that you might have is maybe traveling the world, or starting a family, and like expressing yourself through your work. And maybe you're super fascinated with art and music like myself. So now, when you open your eyes in a bit, don't write too much things for this exercise. And the most important thing, again, is to be short and concise. Be specific and tangible. And don't give broad answers, right? Like, think about the specific moment that gives you this joy or this feeling of peace. And finally, if you repeated any answers from the previous exercise I showed you in the part 3 video of this series, that's completely okay. And it's actually great because this actually allows you to solidify what's authentic to you with these answers. And most likely, repeated answers are great hints to the values that comes naturally to you and that are authentic to you. And that goes back to part of the reason why we're doing these different exercises, is that we can hit you in all of these different angles and really confirm what makes you feel joyful. And then afterwards, we'll be able to group all of these activities to an overarching value that umbrellas what these activities share in common in the future. So now I want you to open your eyes. Welcome back. I want you to pause this video and just start writing down all of these bullet points on a piece of paper or a notebook or wherever. All right, now I want to share another way of thinking about this exercise, which is looking at your life at the lens of different buckets. And what do I mean by different buckets? I mean separating your life and breaking it down in chunks of 10-year increments. So your first bucket will be 0 to 10, and then 10 to 20, 20 to 30, 30 to 40, 40 to 50, 50 to 60, and onwards until, let's just say, 100. So your last bucket will be 90 to 100. So what you want to do with this bucket concept is do the same thing, but instead, now you can place in the different activities that you want to do for different periods of your life. And why is this important, right? This is important because what you'll realize is that the older you get, you may actually prefer doing some sort of activities that are different from when you're, let's just say, in your 20s, because when you're older, you probably have more wisdom, but then you have less energy, right? And this means that you're probably unable to, like climb Mount Everest when you're 90 years old compared to when you're 20s, when it's easier to do such a thing. And what this will allow you to do is think about life based on different phases. And for each bucket, you can probably come up with like 5 to 10 different things that you want to do. And then after that, you can eliminate based on the things that you think are most valuable to you, and also find some common patterns between all of these buckets if there are any. So that's another way to approach this question. So yeah, these exercises should really get you excited and let you see that you're really the master of your life, right? You can do what you like to do, and you are really the artist to design your life with endless possibilities. And finally, it's so important to also not worry whether or not these answers would change over time, because it's so natural for us to change our answers because we evolve as a species. But what's most important is to accept where you are now, and then you can look back at these insights, a couple of years later down the line when you're really aligned with your purpose, to see how much you've grown and how much fulfillment and love you've brought into your life. So I hope this exercise was another useful tool for you to find what your life purpose and what these areas of joys are in your life. And I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace out.